I thank God because of the few lives that are coming out, students testifying of the successes they're getting, and the appreciation I get individually. People coming to me and saying, "You changed my life." And as a person, I can tell you, Prof, today that you changed my life when you came to Moi Courses Academy, and your teachings have really been moving me. I have been achieving so much because of the few and many things that you have taught me to do. You might not know about it, but wherever you are, just know I thank God because of you. Thank you.
Wow. Praise to God. Yes, God is just using some of us as a vessel, and you people, wherever you are, God is using you as a vessel, and we continue to magnify his name. I'm soon to put on my camera. Is there any other reaction to this thankfulness and just realizing that it can never happen without God? Any other reaction?
Yes, Prof, here.
Oh, also, so Liz Mudoni, is it Liz? Yes. And Jimmy Sanya, I see a raised hand. Cindy, Emma, let's go in that order very quickly, please. Thank you. Cindy.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, we can't get you,
I
Cindy.
hope I'm...
We can't get you.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so on Friday when I was going to work, just somewhere along Thika Road, we found a lady laying on the road and people were surrounding there. So because there was a lot of traffic on the road, some people were just talking and just trying to explain what happened. Little did we know that the lady had passed on. Apparently she was just crossing the road, and then a matatu and a motorbike collided and she was hit and she died instantly.
Oh no.
So on my way to work, I was just thinking, and I was asking myself, how many times have I failed to thank God simply because I was going through one or two maybe challenges, or the times I've complained about things which were not working well, without even remembering that even the breath that I have belongs to God. And that challenged me that no matter what you are going through, because there are people who would want to leave, there are people who are hospitalized, people who are in difficult situations, a person who is basically just hoping that they could just get well, stand up and serve God. And I was like waking up, going to work and coming back alive. It's a miracle, and it's something that we should thank God for. So everything that has breath should praise the Lord. Yes, and I promise myself, no matter what I'm going through, as long as I am okay, as long as God has given me breath, I'll praise the Lord. Because that's someone who had dreams just like anyone else, a person who had kids like most of us, a person who has friends and parents, but unfortunately she left home, she never went back. So that is a challenge to all of us, that every time when we wake up, no matter what is...
Hello? She seems to have gone off. Can we have the next person very quickly? Liz has gone off.
I didn't know what was happening, yes. And I didn't know what to do. I remembered I promised that I will praise God in all circumstances, but sometimes it's difficult. Yeah, but I went to the hospital. The baby is getting better, although he's still very sick, not eating. But I'm grateful to God. I've learned to praise God in all circumstances. Thank you, Prof.
Very good. Jimmy, Sanya?
Thank you, Prof.
Mm.
Indeed, the attitude of gratitude is what drives us. But little do we know of that fact.
Mm.
I would like to just read Psalms chapter 50,
Yeah.
50 verses 23. It says, "He who brings an offering of praise and thanksgiving honors and glorifies me. And he who orders his way aright, that is, who prepares the way that I may show him. To him I will demonstrate the salvation of God."
Mm.
So it's all about a thanksgiving sacrifice. And nature has taught us to be best complainers other than being people who gratify, people who are full of gratefulness. As we speak, it is actually raining heavily, and El Nino, to some extent, is wreaking a lot of havoc across the country. But the question is, where do you begin from? In as much as you're realizing that there are a lot of rains, people are being swept away, the infrastructure in our nation is being swept away, the houses, people are being rendered homeless, many people, families are being displaced. What comes first? Yes, it is true that the rains are wreaking a lot of havoc, but from where are we supposed to begin from? I believe, and I personally feel that we need to, first of all, be grateful to God, and then ask the same God now to at least to moderate the rains. But what happens, and it's actually the theme and the narrative of any human being, as long as they are living in areas that are experiencing a lot of rainfall, they actually complain. We have a lot of complaints, oh, El Nino this, El Nino that. But I think, as the Bible says in Psalms chapter 50, whoever brings an offering of praise and thanksgiving honors me. I think I think it is actually, there's a version that talks of whosoever offers a thanksgiving sacrifice, something like that, honors me, and he prepares a way for me to show salvation. So thanksgiving and being grateful in simple terms is what creates an avenue for God to show us salvation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who is Cindy, Emma, and then we'll go to class. Yeah.
I talked, Prof. Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, you have talked. Okay. So I think Liz has talked. So I just want. Yes, Liz. Oh, Liz. Okay, go ahead, Liz. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the devotion. This has reminded me that in everything that we should give thanks. There's a Bible verse that says that. And sometimes it's so hard to understand, to give thanks, especially when circumstances are not good. I lost a very good friend of mine, and yesterday I was in a burial. And she went to give birth, and we all were expected that she would come back. But out of complications, she didn't make it, and she left a very young baby. I was looking at that baby and wondering, how do you give thanks in this circumstance? How will this baby grow and develop? The mother is not there. She's just a few weeks down the line. How will it happen? And I remembered, as much as sometimes we want to complain how things are not working, someone else is just asking God, give me a second chance to live. Give me good health. Give me appetite to eat. Give me money to go to work. Give me money to feed my family. And sometimes you're here complaining. It's such a challenge that no matter the circumstance that we all go through, we should always give thanks, because everything will work for our good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll send a copy of that sermon. I did not have time to get it ready so that we assemble them. And we're just asking you, wherever you are, try to be different, try to be part of this kingdom, because that's what our university is a kingdom. And we are kingdom builders, changing people's lives and hoping that they can become better human beings. So thank you very much. First, secondly, I want to appreciate the work you submitted on policy analysis, the case study that you are dealing with. I am a third way in marking because I'm marking them myself. I need to get to understand where we are as a group. And some of the work is very, very encouraging. Some of the work is very inspiring, thoughtful. And you are supposed to select a policy for analysis. Some of you went into finance, others went into education, others went into health. Then the assignment on the benefits of attending college versus getting a job, that was just to help me know how deeply you have understood the value of alternatives in the policymaking process. But last time when you went, I did ask you, not as an assignment, we had just finished problem identification. And if we can go to our book, you are asked to look at, assemble the evidence as is a critical part of the policymaking process. Once you've done problem identification, the step one is define the problem. Step two in policy formulation is to assemble some evidence that a problem exists. And I asked I asked you to do it as a class reading exercise. And then today we are moving to step three, construct the alternatives. After I have brushed a few things, as I marked the papers, I've actually marked, let me see, I've marked 15 scripts, 15 assignments, and already have an idea of where we are. So I'll be using that. I've pulled out a case study in the health sector. And we're going to use it this evening to look at the whole process of policy analysis using this case study from the health sector. And then I will ask you to go and work on step three, construct the alternatives. And that is perhaps the most difficult part of policy analysis, because you have to look at the problem, you have to have the evidence, and then you have to give alternatives. And alternatives, you have to conceptualize and simplify the list of alternatives based on certain criteria. Maybe the funding of that, maybe the culture inhibitions. So we will need to really be able to understand, how do you, as a policy analyst, how do you distinguish between a basic strategy and the variance based on implementation details? Why are you picking these alternatives? And you have to convince the people. It could be parliament, it could be in your school, it could be in your board, it could be in your county. You have to convince them about the alternatives. So the alternatives must be detailed. And that will be our reading for the coming week. But for now, I want us just to make sure that we are very thorough with the aspect of assembling evidence, but also pulling out the problem, detecting the problem, so that we are able to develop, and of course we are doing policy analysis and measurement, and be able to measure the success of that program. So this is what we are going to do. I think what I want to do is I would like to just remember we are recording this program. So any contribution you make, it is going to be additive. We're going to add up your contribution. And on this one of assembling evidence, I just want to hear some comments, not long comments, but some comments so that we can then be able to move on. I'm still a little uneasy about the whole process of policy analysis. I don't think we have really got into what I want the frame of mind I want you to be in. And you know, this is a scientific process. Policy analysis is a scientific process. You are supposed to, you're supposed to go through the steps involved. And then after you understand what is a policy, you'll have to go through the whole steps of defining the policy problems, and then moving on to assemble evidence, and then give us alternatives like that until the end when we are doing implementation and evaluation. As I've said, the area of specifying policy alternatives will require a lot of reading on your part. We'll try to give you more reading beyond this. I'm also going to ask you to go to the library and get journal articles on seeking alternatives in policy formulation. Before you go to implementation and design, you must have told us the alternatives, then you develop an evaluation criteria. And we then see how successful that policy is. So very interesting and engaging stuff. I'm hoping after we finish the steps in our book, or your class text by Badak, I'm hoping that then we can now start being courageous to do policy briefs and cabinet papers and board of governors papers about a policy you're adapting in hospital, in the health sector, in finance, in the bank, wherever will be. So now we'll try to do application of the same. So ladies and gentlemen, can I have some reactions? We'll do that, and then I'll want to run through again this process just to make sure we are clear. And then the last hour will be sending you to the second part of your assignment. This second part of the assignment, I'll be collecting it in. So I'll want Carol, the coordinators, to assemble people, and people will work as a pair, not two people will work as a pair when dealing with step 3, construct the alternatives. So they'll go in the library, they'll read, they'll look at journal papers, and then they're submitting a paper to me showing how best one can construct alternatives in seeking out, in constructing the alternatives in the policy formulation process. Let's go and let me hear about evidence. Othello, thank you.
Good evening, Prof.
Yes, good evening. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. In the media, we having worked in the media for many years, we are always doing this kind of trying to suggest what policies can be done. And we always criticize things when things are happening, especially in the public sector. We criticize and then we suggest solutions. But the other area that is in our class here, which everybody will have to work on, is the aspect of alternatives, providing alternatives. Sometimes we just give the suggestions of what should be done, but rarely do we give a lot of alternatives. I'll just give you an example. I did an editorial, a commentary in a paper in a Standard around 2000, and I think towards the end of 2002. And that
Yes.
was about the matatu industry, how they have become very rowdy and also very disrespectful to passengers. I wrote a very long commentary, and I suggested ways in which the government can deal with it. And some of the things I said, like, okay, you have to give evidence from our text here is talking about presenting the problem. Then when you identify the problem, then now you can give evidence and then gather or uh, assembling your structures of doing this particular thing. So I gave evidence on what happens to passengers in a matatu, and then I talked also about matatu operators conniving with some thugs stealing from people, pickpocketing people, and so that editorial was used by John Michuki, the late John Michuki, when he was Minister for Transport, and then he brought a lot of policy change, I mean, a major policy change in the matatu industry, whereby people stop standing in the matatus and buses. And then I gave evidence at how the matatu operators actually do not consider the passengers as their paymasters. They are like objects. The passengers are treated like objects. And then I said that when you board a matatu, you instantly surrender your self-dignity and self-respect and self-esteem to matatu operators. And then you become like object in the country. So it was very hard hitting. Even some of my colleagues in the newsroom were saying, oh, this editorial is very hard hitting, it's very strong. And I say, but the government has to do something about the matatu industry, because when strangers come here, they fear boarding the matatus because they are told how people are treated on the matatu. So most of the people who come maybe from European countries, USA, and things like that, they prefer using taxi rather than boarding a matatu. And so I went on to list the many things that happen in matatu and what the operators do. That's when now they decided to have uniforms for the matatu conductors and their drivers. So maybe my colleagues can learn from this when you talk about identifying the problems and trying to find solutions and giving alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Othello. That's a good example. Assembling evidence. Remember, this is a scientific process. So you must have evidence before you seek alternatives, and you must have identified the problem very clearly. What is it that is the problem? Yes. Chris Wekesa. And once you have spoken,
Yes.
bring down your arm. Like Othello, now you can bring down your arm. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, Prof. Just a little contribution on assembling evidence is that I feel when assembling evidence, as you've said, this is a scientific process that involves research, getting information from people so that you can be able to analyze your data before decision making is made. Now, giving an example of, for example, in security sector, where you want to come up with a policy, especially on police uniforms, for example, or on how the salary increment for the police officers and the security department is supposed to be done. You'll need to carry out a research from amongst different stakeholders, right from the grassroots on what they think and what they feel about their salaries, even from the community, so that you're able to have an informed mind of what people feel before making the final decision. And therefore, this is a research process, as we had in the qualitative analysis of research. You'll have to go and observe from the ground, get to hear from the people. And therefore, this whole research process will help you to gather evidence of what is on the ground before the decision is made. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. Any other input from the class on evidence? Something unique outside what the others have said?
Prof, can I speak?
Yes, Sam, go ahead. And I want to encourage all of us. We can't all contribute because of time, but I would like to see everybody wanting to give a view so that we build consensus. We learn from each other. Yes, Sam, go ahead. Then Paul Amata.
Yeah, Prof, before you joined this evening's class, Dr. Caroline had asked us to share how the last few days have been for us. And I remember sharing that I have been having a very busy week and I'm going to have a busier week beginning tomorrow. And when we talk about evidence assembling, I'm telling you this because the school where I work, we are starting an accreditation journey by an international accreditation organization. And we have been writing reports and actually assembling evidence. And the accreditors emphasize that you can make as many claims as you want, you can say what you want, but as long as you do not have evidence, we will not accept the claims, we will not, go ahead with the accreditation. Yeah. So I am I'm a coordinator of the accreditation process. So I know how it has been very challenging with pushing colleagues to develop evidence. Some people will tell you, oh, we know how to treat children. Why do we need to sit down and write a child protection policy, for example? Then when you tell them can you demonstrate how you are actually taking care of the children that are under your care? Someone tells you, but I do, and you know that I do. And if a visitor came and they wanted to see evidence of what you are doing, how will you show it? So I have been having this discussion, and I thank God, and I thank you also for taking us through this course, because it enables me, speak with my head straight, because I know how important this is as part of what we are doing as an institution. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, Prof, and good evening.
Good evening.
I think my colleagues have mentioned a lot about what I was planning to say, but I want to add on something that I want to say that assembling evidence is it will involve data collection, and that will mean going on the ground and getting concrete information about what is going on, what you want to, the problem you are trying to solve. And I realized that one of the purpose of assembling evidence is to assess the extent of the problem. For example, recently we had an issue at Mkumu Girls of students getting sick, having stomachaches, and even sadly, some of them passing on. If you want to research on such a topic, you must go on the ground and look at the real issue of the ground, interview those who are affected and those who are working maybe in those kitchens, so that you get the extent of that problem before you maybe go ahead with trying to solve the problem at hand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Juliet, then Charles.
Thank you so much, Prof. But my side is just like I have a question because I'm seeking to understand this better. I tried to read it, but as the class is participating, I'm also getting much. So I need your help here. So for some time, I've been having an issue, especially I'm a teacher, with this rampant cheating in the exam. For example, let me take where I am working. You realize the students don't read at all. They are busy making the Mwakenyas. I hope you understand what a Mwakenya is. And so they would rather spend the whole night cutting small pieces or the book into very small pieces. Then they write everything inside there. And then they go with them to the class. So it has been really so much on my mind. I'm like, what is really the problem? And there's no need of reading, and it is just copying. And so maybe when I was trying to look at this, so can I put that like it is now an issue that is really eating me up, as I said, because I think to me I feel it's not really the best, because is this really the generation that we are raising up, just wanting things that come in an easy way like that? So could we take this to be a problem, Prof, that now you want to come up with policy on how to go about it? Maybe that's the first part of it that I needed to understand. Because whenever I look at a problem, that is the first thing that always comes. It is really an issue on my side. That cheating, that level of cheating, it's just too much on my side.
Yeah, and that's why precisely, if you want to address that situation, then we have to collect evidence. The other day we had a school in Kisii. I don't want to name schools. That was almost #1 in the country. In this exam, rampant, from what I read in the press, there was rampant cheating. Day 1, day 2, somewhere there. You see, these are areas that require very stringent policies. I am of the opinion today that we have to relook at the way we are in terms of policy. This policy of students coming into exams and regurgitating what they have learned allows for cheating. So some of us, the former minister, I was an advisor to Dr. Fred Matiang'i, we brought in very stringent measures around exams. And the next step was to randomize the exams. You are sitting in the same place, but I have a different paper, you have a different paper. What can we do as a country to go digital with our exams? Because we are fooling ourselves. We're getting the wrong people getting into careers, for example, where you really need the best and effort. Not necessarily the brightest, but the best and effort. That doctor we are looking for is the one who will be tireless in working in some district or sub-county hospital. Yeah, so that's a problem. We need to accumulate evidence, and then we now give alternatives and see whether they'll be implementable. Okay, Charles Manyara.
But maybe, Prof, before Charles speaks, sorry. So when now we are talking about collecting evidence, now this evidence that we are going to collect, now do I go and when you get a student cheating, maybe with that Mwakenya, is that part of the evidence you're talking about? Or when you're talking about collecting evidence, in this case of the exam cheating that I've given?
Yeah,
these are some of them.
Yeah, that's the evidence. But also, we can go to the exam council. They have the reports that come up around cheating. And we can use that as evidence. There's an evidence from experience like you now, but I can also get evidence from documents, from journals. I can do a lot of literature review to see what are the common forms of cheating and how do we overcome them. Yeah. So yes, I agree with you.
Prof,
Manya,
can I react on Juliet's concern?
okay, very quickly, Cindy, then Manyara. Sorry, Charles. Yeah.
All right.
It's okay.
Yeah. So as Juliet was talking about cheating in exams, I think this Mwakenya problem it cuts across in most schools. And so my question is, when I was reading about sampling evidence, there is the document is talking about thinking and collecting data, that is collecting evidence. And so I've been asking myself, we have had cases of exam cheating and especially the KCSE exams, where the principals in the school are the ones in the forefront to provide the students with these exam papers. And with such a history in a school setup, a student can't find it wrong for them to spend the night making more Kenyans. Because the question is, why are students doing this despite the fact that they have been warned several times? They know when they are caught, they'll be punished. But the question here is, where are they getting this culture from? It's coming from the top. They know that they have sister, brothers, and friends who were given the exam papers by the school principal and the teachers. Those are KCSE exams. So I think if we have to solve this issue, which might seem very small simply because it's maybe in the internal examination, we would love to ask ourselves, where is this problem coming from? Because if a school principal can do this, how is it difficult for a student to make a Mwakenya? They don't find anything wrong because they're learning from the best, quote unquote, the school principals. So I think if we want to solve these problems, because it's not found in one school, in all the schools that I've taught, there have been these cases every time we have exams. So the question here is, can we identify the problem, the root causes, so that we can solve this problem? We cannot solve the problem of exam cheating from a classroom. We need to identify the problem itself. Where is it coming from? And what are the root causes of the problem? That was my contribution.
Yeah, very interesting. And now you see we are overflowing into research. Before Charles, maybe Charles, come in first. I'll talk later. Yeah, come in.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. What I want to contribute, in fact, you have touched on it. Juliet has touched on it. I wanted to contribute on policy on examination. I'm a school principal, and on top of that, I'm the chair, Kesha Nakuru County.
Yeah.
I'm heading more than 500 secondary schools in Nakuru County as the chair.
Yeah.
Early this year, there was the parliamentary subcommittee on examination cheating that was going around, and I was able to present a paper as the chair. And we were trying to look why, because we are doing this. We had started looking at it from last year at the national level of the governing council. We were trying to get a paper. And then now when this committee was formed, because of the results of last year, when they came, we saw there was that abnormality in grades. And when we were talking with principal across, I want to say, and I want first, and sorry, I think it's Cindy who have said it's principal. I want to really perhaps box on the side of the principals. We should not, it's not a general condemnation that it's principals. What comes across is that there is moral and lack of ethics in our country in general, which glorifies end results instead of the process. Coming back to the gist, we found that when we were interviewing teachers, trying to gather evidence from the principals, there are two things that we found out, and even they were in the
you're lost.
We have lost you, brother.
You're lost. Charles, are you there? Can we have Florence Macho? He'll come in later.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I'm going back to collecting of evidence for a policy issue and problem. So a few years ago, we all know that there is the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. And the Africa Committee of Experts focuses on countries that have ratified this charter, but also borrows heavily from the Africa Union and the Maputo Protocol when it comes to child protection. And in this conversation, that's where you hear matters child marriage, FGM, and all other harmful practices. So years back, I realized, or rather my organization realized, that as much as countries have ratified and countries have put laws, like we have the Sexual Offences Act, Anti-FGM Act, and all this for Kenya, for example, when we went to the ground, we realized that the same law does not trickle down to the children. So we speak very highly. And so every 2 years, countries would come up for review on how are we doing. And most countries will report that they have the Children's Act, they have a law against FGM, they have a law about this and that. But I went down to 25 African schools in 6 African countries and actually collected evidence from children. It was about 6,000 children. And it was more of qualitative, hearing their voices, because I realized while every country there is statistics that show matters child marriage and teenage pregnancy and violation of children, there is no story behind the numbers. And therefore we look at the figures and we forget the figures. And so when Kenya was coming up for review and a few other African countries, the evidence I gathered, which was qualitative, I decided to present it to the Committee of Experts through an art gallery format of the voices of the children. And so when the Committee of Experts, we have a Committee of Experts on child marriage, on FGM, and all these other ones, when they saw it, and I have a video of it, if you permit me, one day I'll share with this class, of the recording of the Committee of Experts reviewing the voices of the children during that session. And so when they saw it, they were shocked that while countries come and say, we have a law this, and we have a law that says this, and we have a law that says this, none of the states is talking about prevention. And so out of that presentation of this evidence that I had gathered from 25 schools in Africa, some of which were Kenya, then helped the Committee of Experts to come up with a new regulation that when countries present, when they come up for review, they have to show evidence of protection, not just response, because most of our laws are around response and they're not around prevention. What measures are you putting in place to prevent these violations from happening? So I wanted to share that with the class to just show how that then gathering of evidence then allows to expose over a challenge within even a policy, a challenge within a law that makes now states have to act in response to the evidence. Thank you.
Wow, that's very rich. We'd love to look at that video because that's the best way to learn. Yes, so we'll pick that up. Yes, who was next?
Charles did not complete.
Charles,
Come back.
Has Charles come back? He hasn't come back. Boaz, you are next, and then Joel Nyawita, and then Obadiah Baizere. We'll stop there and then carry on. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Prof. Indeed, I think it's an interesting class. I want to go straight to, I think, when we talk about evidence collection, the element of how to collect it and what is the relevant evidence that would suffice. So even for one that to go out to collect the evidence, you must be very, very clear on the policy issues. The policy itself must be articulative enough to give you pointers to what you should be collecting. Let me take the case of education that currently is really troubling many heads in Kenya. I think the Kenyan education situation, I would take it back to the progression from the 90s to the 2000 and then 2012. And after 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals, which I think Kenya was really at the front line in trying to create a clear framework that state or member states of the UN would now put themselves accountable. And I like one aspect that framework provided.
Yeah.
The one that talked about the indicators that then must be looked at. The indicators pointing at the early childhood, what are supposed to be looked at, the primary level, the secondary level, and the kindergarten or early childhood and primary and secondary being considered as basic education, then a higher education level. So simply put, then I look at it in terms of how one then collects the data on the basis of the indicators which Kenya itself has domesticated. For example, if the indicators are to provide, like our policy statements do indicate that we should be having 100% transition, then we should be having the information system, for example, from the lowest level to indicate to us the number of children enrolled, both boys and girls, from whichever areas and backgrounds, including communities where children are hidden because they do not want them to be taken to school, including those that abandon the children with disability because they think that's a curse. So the framework that then enables us to capture the data, current, relevant, and vital data, which then, when utilized, can be very useful for us reviewing such a policy if it is not working. If, for example, by the time now you're having candidates sitting for like KEPSEA that was being done recently, and then you get an indication that we had 1.1 million children sitting for KEPSEA. And but when they joined they joined Standard 1, there were more than 1.4. So you start asking, where are the others?
Where did they go?
Yeah, where are they? Where are they? And so that can help you then now in coming to the analysis that one does. And there's also a point I wanted to emphasize based on what that was Mashio who mentioned about the committee of experts. I think that is a very good mechanism in helping us to exert accountability at whatever levels of our governance. Why? Because then when you make commitments, because you have political statements, you translate into policies, and then you implement on the basis of budgets that you've provided and how the implementation of the programs take place. So the committee of experts, I think what Mashio said resonates with what I've also experienced and witnessed firsthand. The issue of shadow reporting. The shadow reporting is on the basis of all that material which then has been collected as relevant data. And that helps those are now where you can be more direct with the kind of evidence that is collected. That we had more than 1.4 million children in class 1, and now we are only having 1.1, and we were having 100% transition. So we need to account for the difference. Where are the others gone? Because there is no repetition that takes place. And indeed, we did not give them visas to go anywhere. So those are kind of now the follow-up, so that you see where there's leakage, and then you're able to seal that. Thank you.
Very well put, yeah. So let's open up our minds around policy, and the class needs to read a little more. From the 15 scripts I've looked at, we need to open up our mind a lot more and look at examples of policy formulation. And you know, if the evidence isn't there, then you can't argue for the problem. You can't. And just know that this is a political process. Yes, this is a political process. And when you're dealing with policy formulation, political, not parliament, but political even at school level, there are people who will have different views at your level. So you need to know how to go around it. And evidence will be very, very important, because you'll have people who will be arguing against your evidence. Obadiah, can we listen to you? Are you there, Obadiah?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for the insights that you're giving us throughout this journey ever since we started. And I also appreciate my colleagues who have gone ahead of me and for their contribution. Prof, I have a concern, and this is something that I was thinking about throughout this week, because from the of problem statement that is now in the other unit that you're doing. I was trying to figure out how I can be useful to my community. And I looked at something that I think to me is very intimate, and that is making my heart to bleed. I'm from a small community in India, in Bukavu, South Kivu. And yes, South Kivu. Yeah, and I was trying to look at how life was like in the last 10 years and how is at the moment. And I was shocked that I'm realizing that life is deteriorating in that part of our country. And I asked myself, why is that we have the institution of higher learning in this part of our country, and each year we are producing graduates, but there is zero innovation and there is nothing that really is happening. So after school, what you can do is just go and start maybe a small boutique or a kiosk, and that has been life. So that when you go to school at university level, not knowing that in the end, or when you're just terminating your program, you will go back maybe to the market or now to start a boutique. And this thing was like was disturbing my mind. I was trying to look at this angle. Might there be some policy issues that are maybe alive in our education system that clouds people's mind to a point that when they're getting out, that they're not being useful to the nation, or they're not being useful to themselves. because to an extent I would look forward to see education changing people's mind and also how they behave in the society. But when they get out of school now, it becomes now worse than maybe how they went in. So now I was wondering, would it be an issue of policy, or where does the policy aspect comes handy in this particular observation that I've made? So I said that today we'll ask the question for more enlightenment.
Okay. Oh, very good. Can I have a reaction from the class? Anybody before I make my comments? That's a very intelligent thought. Where does the problem lie? Anybody who would like to help us?
Hello, Prof.
Yes, yes.
My name is Joel.
Yes.
I will start by reacting to what Obadiah said. I think that the issue here is not the lack of policy, but as Florence had pointed out earlier, the lack of policy implementation. We have policies in this country that ensure that the education we offer should at least meet the desires of the market. Well, there are courses that are not really worth studying in this century, but we still have policies to ensure that that education produces learners who have skills to develop the community. The problem is that when they actually get to school, we end up with a knowledge-based assessment. Like we still have NEC in technical colleges, when technical colleges should actually be producing people with technical skills. That said, I will also ask a question, maybe they'll respond later, on how do we end up with objective evidence? Because I work in a performance contracting office, and what we do is that we collect evidence whether the institution has met its requirements. But the question of who collects the evidence and who avails it, and then the purpose of that evidence, brings now the issue of ethics. Because as Florence was mentioning, I'll use that because I listened to her keenly. If you are going to reward a country for showing evidence that they have implemented a given policy on child rights protection, then chances are that the country, to get the reward, will manipulate the evidence if they are the ones collecting the evidence and also presenting the same evidence. So my question is that in policy creation or formulation, how do you ensure that we have objective evidence? Thank you.
Objective evidence. So I hope we are taking notes. In other words, I assume you mean valid evidence. Valid, because
yes.
Valid evidence, yes. Joel Nyawita.
No, I'm the one who was just spoken.
Sorry, I want us to think about what Obadiah raised as a class. Where is the problem? Where is the problem? And I know where the problem is from what he has said. And policies ought to be developed and implemented so that people coming out of that system will be functional citizens. Where do you think is the problem? Where do you think we are having the problem? Because we want to be policy analysts, and these are the issues we'll be confronted with.
Prof, are we still talking about the problem to do with exam malpractices?
Not really. He's talking about the efficiency of an education system and the functionality of the products of that system. I think that's what he's talking about. Where you know, even in our schools, look at the failure rate in our schools. Look at the failure rate. Where is the problem? where is, and how would you accumulate evidence to convince the lawmakers or the ministry that this is really the problem we're trying to deal with?
I think, in my opinion, one of the challenges is what we call the societal attitudes towards success. I think the mindsets of many people led by Kenyans is that you are only a successful high school graduate if you qualified to join a university. If you did not, you are a failure. So from the beginning, from our houses, we keep encouraging and pushing our children because we want them to join the university. You know, when they're in primary school, we want them to join Alliance High School. We want them to go to the best schools because that's the way they will go to the universities. We have failed to look at the global challenges and realize the need to you know, make or align our education system to the global challenges that we are facing presently. And again, you know, I don't know whether it's inadequacy in terms of belief in ourselves and our abilities, such that we only think that you're only brainy if you qualify to join a university. If you are doing a technical course, you are not very intelligent. That's why you ended up being, you know, a civil engineer. And look at what's happening today. Universities have turned what used to be national polytechnics into university campuses. Why are we highlighting that success in education is only through the university? What happened to the original thoughts of equipping vocational training colleges? You know, the diploma focused, training colleges. And I used to hear, I remember when I was training as a teacher, I used to hear this quip that, diploma trained teachers are actually better than, graduate teachers. And when you could look at it, it's about the skills that used to be imparted on diploma level, vocational training, really. And we have now focused. Now you see there are university campuses all over, even at the village shopping centers, there is a university. And it makes the young people, especially when we are not balancing. On one hand, you want children to go to good schools, but on the other, the government is not allowing people to go to good schools. So why would children, for example, not compromise their means to achieve what society wants? So I think I want to conclude that societal attitude, we are all guilty as charged.
Okay, and let us be, very good points. But colleagues, please remember, we are sitting here as people who aspire to be policy analysts. So there is need for deeper thinking as to why these things happen. If you ask me what is the problem in our education system, the problem in our education system today lies around the economics of education, lies around the values of education. Many of us think education is about exams, but exams are good. We can still be number one, but there are certain values we must inculcate in our students right from Form 1. Even in this class, I'm very deliberate in my way of instruction so that I am not asking you to go and memorize and regurgitate and come and regurgitate in exams. I'm trying to open up your mind so that you actually engage in the learning process yourself. We are very deliberate about values. Let me tell you, and I've seen this in Daystar. If every day we come and have a devotion, you will never be the same. Something is started on you, even when you're not conscious. And when you go out there, you'll be a better person. When I hear cheating in schools, when I hear the roads starting at the top, I really know where the problem is. So you don't become active when exams are around the corner. No, you don't. This is a child from Form 1 who knows the values of the school. And this is, by the way, I'm sorry to say, this is what the Wazungus were doing in our schools as principals in Kamsinga, Chavakali, Alliance, Homa Bay, Shimolatewa. That's, Kaaga, Meru School. That's what they were doing, values. So you can have peers rotating around the country, saying, how can one person really ensure the sanctity of exams? No, it's a constituency which you must have built. So that's why I'm saying when we come to research, we can bring out very interesting aspects of why there's exam cheating. And we can also remove the stereotypes. I hear stereotypes, people saying, oh, such a region is known for cheating. Those are stereotypes. I was in Sunshine as a principal, and for 2 years running, kids, I want to mention, kids from Kisii were number one, were always in the top 10 in the country. And, today, Dr. Maugo is already a consultant in his own right. And there are many that happen, but there are problems that we need to engage with. Can we have Zibora and then Sylvanus? Then we will come to the other. Cindy and Othello had talked. Carry on. Zibora? Are you there? Or you have gone to sleep? Are you there? Oh, she seems we've lost her. Sylvanus?
Yes, Professor, how are you?
I'm good.
I wanted to comment on that exam cheating. Where I work, last week I was giving my students the outline of what they expect to do in the exam. And they were telling me, but sir, that is exam cheating. Why should you tell us? And I was really surprised how are these students now? They are not like the normal students that I'm used to. So when I was asking around, they told me it is a school culture. They don't believe in exam cheating. I was even being told that even if you bring the exam, put it on the table, tell them this is what you will do tomorrow, no one will touch it. So I concur with you on the culture of an environment. Once you have a strong culture, strong policies that are adhered to, I think everything else will work according to the way they are supposed to work. So I strongly believe that it is a culture of an institution.
Yeah, and I want us to think, we are leaders. There's the aspect of leadership. So you're not just doing policies. There's leadership. I think I tell people picking the broom as a leader is very, very important. Being the shepherd, it has to be emphasized. It's only in teaching where the most specialized person, like the principal is a chemistry teacher, and he became a principal because he was good in chemistry, stops teaching when he becomes a principal. But Dr. Gikonyo, the heart specialist, every time he's in the theater with a team of doctors that he instructs to do the operation. But it is in teaching when you rise up, your expertise and skill seems to go. Even at universities, many of us, once you become whatever, DVC or dean, teaching becomes a problem. And yet, the only way you will relate, influence the minds and the thinking, the culture of the organization is being part of that effort. And that's what I call picking the broom. So there are many things. So this aspect of cheating is a consequence of ill preparation. Taslin Onyango.
Taslin Otieno. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Yes. I also think that one of the factors that maybe might lead this is that our teachers are under pressure. You find that in every school they are told that they have to get to this, like the class has to get to this point. They have to get to this cutoff point. So they are forced, they train the students, but at the end of the day that they know that maybe they might not get where they wanted to be. And so they are forced also to now go and look for those papers to give the students so that the students have an upper hand. I remember I had a teacher in primary school called Mrs. Kerumba, and she made it a habit of smelling us every morning. Like we would line up and then she would smell us to know who took a shower and who did not. Through this, you would find even the boys who did not like showering every day were now showered. I think that is how you now inculcate the values in these students, and then they grow up knowing that they have to shower every day. They cannot cheat in exams. Like you get what you work for. Thank you. Maybe now value inculcation is the most important. Thank you.
Yeah, and you need to have evidence if you're going to craft policy. I think Othello, then we wind up. I want to move. It's now 7, almost 15. I want to go into my lesson.
Prof.
Yeah.
I think what I would like to add is that part of the problem, Prof has been asking, where is the problem? Part of the problem, I think, lies with parents. Parents have a lot to play in the school and in the children, in inculcating values in the children. But I think many parents have, I don't know if I can use this strong language, abdicated their responsibility by leaving them to the university. For example, those who teach in the university, they think that the university will fix a problem that they have already created. Spoiling the children, they don't take interest. We should actually let the parents know that they have to take interest in their children's learning. They will wait until maybe when they say that this student is supposed to spend 4 years in the university, that's the only time they will come and ask the VC, my child is supposed to graduate, but this grade is missing or that is missing. They don't take interest in what is going on in the process of learning, what the student is going through. Very few parents, they come to school to follow up and see how their children have been attending classes, whether they are coming to class or not. So the problem, a big part of that problem is actually lying with the parents, not actually taking interest in their children's learning. I was doing a devotional where the author was saying in the USA, people are buying the love of their children with a lot of gadgets or what you call PlayStation, television, all kinds of things given to the children, rather than having quality time with their children and asking them questions and their day-to-day life. So they are buying their children's love, and so they are not spending enough time with the children. They don't know what they are they just throw the story in school. They think if they are spoiled the children, universities or the schools can fix them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cindy, very brief 2 minutes, Gaki 2 minutes. Then, of course, we are actually already in the lesson. We are dealing with evidence, which was your class exercise, but we need to move. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In that spirit of asking ourselves what the problem is, I have an example. I will not mention the school. I've taught in a school where teachers give students exam papers. Like when I reported to that school, I was taken in as a private tutor for a student who was waiting to sit for the examination. And then the mother asked me to, after setting the exams, to go and discuss the exam paper with the son before before they begin the internal examinations. And then I was so curious because I was shocked because I had never had such a thing before. And so I asked the mother, what is the essence of giving your son tuition and also discussing the exam at the same time? Who is going to give him the exam in the coming external examinations? Because we do examinations from the UK. And then she told me, but all the teachers who have been teaching him tuition, that is what they do. They set the exams, they print, and then they discuss, they do the exam with the son before the exams begin. And then I left. I never went back for that tuition. So when I went to school, I observed students in the classroom, they are so reluctant. When it comes up, the exams are approaching, they are not revising and all that. So I went ahead to ask some of the students why they are not revising for the exams. And then they told me, but you already know what is coming the examination. I asked them, how do you know what is coming the examination, yet the exams have been were set by the teacher? And they were like, so-and-so told us that we read these topics. This is what he has said. The other teachers are printing exams and just giving students, So I think the problem, the point of values and character should be emphasized, not for the students only, but also for the teachers. Because the problem begins with the instructor. The educators have become just like quote and quote, like the students themselves. They want shortcuts to success based when it comes to examinations. Teachers are setting exams and giving them to the student, and I don't understand why would a teacher do such, because at the end of the day, they are basically messing up with the children, So the problems are right within the teachers, they are from the teachers, and that is how the problem now it's narrowing down to the student, where they don't find anything wrong when they're cheating the exam because the teachers are giving them the examination. So I don't understand the point why a teacher would do such a thing.
Yeah, but I think you also must, I get astounded, you people, at a country that will allow a school, and I want to give the example. I went through Upper Hill School as a day school. We were 420. Today, Upper Hill has almost 2,000 students. And apart from the dormitories, the infrastructure hasn't changed. I see the same classrooms. The labs, I've seen they have planted offices on top of the labs. How can you inculcate values? How? So we are a country that has no respect for policies, even for the space you can put children. I am on the board at St. Joseph's Kitale. This is a fact. And the other year, how many candidates did we have? There were almost 800 and something. 800 and something. What do you expect other than teachers just regimenting people to pass exams? The issue of values, and that's what you give to society. Kaki?
Thank you, Prof. Mine is mainly looking at the breadth in terms of the examination that we tend to give students and the emphasis that has been so much laid on the science subject. Such that a student who does well in the humanities and arts and all that actually feels doomed when they do not score well in the science subjects. I happen to have interacted with the international curriculum, whereby for the science subjects, the students have two options. One, we call it tier 1 and tier 2, for example, in words and English being the core subject. So that a student that does not do so well in let's say English as an example, is they are open to have the second option, which they will not get an E, the highest will get a C, but looking at it is you'd rather get the C, taking tier 2, rather than taking tier 1 and ending up with an E. So I think our education system has tried over the years to bring in the aspects of the arts and all that, but you see when it comes to the examination level, how much emphasis is laid on that. And even generally, even the schools put so much emphasis on, we got A's in words. They don't focus on history per se. So generally looking at the modalities in terms of where do we take our students from there, because even the options, I'm looking at the students that can do well in maths, they have the option of actually doing other subjects like PE, psychology as well. So being able to not to doom the student per se, going with their skill and the talent, and by the end of the day, of course, the aspect of the value being inculcated in them. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Boaz, 2 minutes, because I need an hour for my lesson.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
I just wanted.
You have disappeared.
Boaz, we have lost you.
Have you lost me?
Prof is still there.
Can hear you.
Me, I'm here. Yeah. Boaz, where are you? I think we have lost him. Ladies and gentlemen, I consider this topic very, very important. And having looked at your papers, I want to clean out certain areas and reinforce certain thoughts. Remember, our structure is problem identification, assembling of evidence, and now providing alternatives. Providing alternatives is your work for the coming week. You'll work in pairs of 2. You'll read around the subject, and you'll provide a synopsis of 1 page of not more than 1,000 words on providing alternatives. 1,000 words, 500 words takes about half a page. If you're using font 12, single space. So I just want 1 page, and I'll repeat the assignment at the end of the class. But I would like us, I want to pick an aspect that is that will help me emphasize what we want to study or what you are actually doing. And allow me to share this. I hope this is visible to the class.
Yes.
Is it visible on the mic?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So I want us to look at this. What is health policy analysis? I'm sitting in the health sector. I could have said, what is education policy analysis? What is finance? What is devolution policy analysis? So I want you to have that in mind. And this is a very short paper. There are 3 of them. I want to be sure that we know what is policy analysis. We know problem identification. That will make me happy. We have discussed evidence. And I hope that when you are looking at this, you made some notes on assembling evidence. And now you're going to work in pairs to look at creating alternatives or providing alternatives to a problem so that you can justify that, why that alternative is the best. If you follow me up to there, I'll be very happy. The metrics of policy analysis, we'll do it in the next course. But for now, I want you to get the fundamentals. So I want to ask, I'll be calling you randomly. I want Eugene Situma to start us off with the first 2 paragraphs. of this. And I want us just to read through. We're doing speed reading. These are things we have done, but I want to make sure that you contextualize what it is that we are looking for. So Situma, take us through this case study.
Thank you, Prof. Good evening and good evening, colleagues.
Good evening.
A case study. What is health policy analysis? Health policy analysis is a process used to evaluate the issue that a health policy is meant to address. It is generally done before a policy is implemented to determine whether or not it would be appropriate given the context in which it is being applied. Health policies can bring foundational structure and actions regarding a variety of health-related issues in a population. For example, a government might pass laws restricting the sale of alcohol or tobacco to children, or might fund research to develop evidence-based treatment programs to help people quit smoking. In the latter example, a health policy analysis would involve analyzing data and information gathered from research on the efficacy of past programs aimed at helping people to stop smoking.
Yeah, so pause there. We are talking about policy analysis. In your last assignment, I gave you a case of policy formation. But we'll be having a backward and forth movement. And I want this to be very clear. A policy analysis is a process used to evaluate the issue that a health policy is meant to address. It can be in education, it can be in any other sector. Carry on.
Health policy analysis also protects the interests of stakeholders, such as patients, healthcare providers, organizations that pay for healthcare, and the people that create the health policies. Stakeholders are people or groups that are invested process. Let me say that again. Stakeholders are people or groups that are invested process of forming health policy. There are various elements that are often considered in health policy analysis, including political, climate, and professional organizations.
Yeah, and I want you to stop there. I want you, all of us, to note, and you should be working with this, that stakeholders in policy analysis, in policy formulation, you must have them. And remember, when you are doing a policy analysis, you're trying to evaluate the efficacy of the existing policy. We have discussed policy formation. We will still come back to it, back and forth, but they go hand in hand. And this is what I wanted to see in the debates in the papers that you are doing. You should have been able to tell me not just the policy formulation, but the policy process that you are engaged in. Brian Mwenda, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's go.
Health policy implementation process. Policy analysis is often done when policy is being implemented. The following is a summary of the health policy implementation process. First, the health issue and its potential causes are. Health professionals often write reports that summarize the problem and its effects in public health.
So you can
Next,
see, you can see problem identification. Whether you are doing formulation, whether you are doing analysis, whether you are doing implementation. Carry on.
Next, health professionals can analyze the problem and its causes in order to come up with possible solutions. During this stage, they try to come up with the most effective and reasonable solution to the problem as possible. This stage can be referred to as the policy analysis stage, since it's when the details of the policy are determined.
Yes.
Once the Once the health professional has decided on how to solve the problem at hand, they then draft the policy. This is also the stage where it is decided how best to enact the policy to maximize the likelihood that people will actually adopt it. Once the policy is written, health professionals will seek approval to enact the policy. Permission is often granted by government agencies or specialized organizations such as the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, or the World Health Organization, WHO. Local health policies may also need to be approved by local counties, depending on the context of the policy and who it will affect. Finally, the health policy is implemented. Once the policy is in action, health professionals may continue to analyze its efficacy and engage in support efforts, e.g., educating people if needed.
Yeah. I am hoping by now this class feels adequately exposed to understand this process. And you should be, when you get this paper, you should be highlighting and annotating until you understand it thoroughly. Thank you very much. Next, thank you, Brian. Regina Waita, are you there?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, thank you. Go on.
Health policy analysis methods. There are a variety of health policy analysis methods. Gap analysis. This is a method of determining the difference between the current state of something and the desired state. Regarding health policy, it often involves determining the current circumstances regarding a health situation and the desired health outcomes. It might include analyzing the current health conditions of a particular population of people, the knowledge and the skills of health workers within a health facility, or the resources that are available in health to help a policy be implemented.
Yeah, so gap analysis. You see, if you go to our research class, this has various aspects. If you remember, there could be a knowledge gap in this one. There could be a methodology gap in the way this policy is being implemented. You see, like malaria, they keep throwing nets in villages, in houses, but there is no communication. So there could also be a knowledge practice gap between the current state and where we want to go. So I want you to see the commonality of policy analysis as a research process. Carry on, Waita.
Case study. This is a method in which a particular example or a case is closely analyzed that pertains to some specific issue or problem. For example, a case study may be carried out to analyze the health problems associated with a specific health problem, such as Bell's palsy or pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, I hope you know this. Just hold on, Waita. I was assuming, but this is. I hope you know that this is the worst type of cancer. Bell's palsy or pancreatic cancer. This is the one that killed Steve Jobs. And it is ruthless. Yeah, carry on.
In a case study, a single patient or a small number of patients will be closely monitored, interviewed, and tested to better understand the health problems of interest.
Yeah, and remember, we are doing health policy analysis methods. Gap analysis, case study. Go on, the next one.
Evidence-based science. Experimental studies can provide evidence regarding effective ways to address various types of health problems. Medical research is often used to test new treatment and drugs, and the results of these types of studies can be used to inform health policy.
Yeah. So I want you to learn, I want you to know, as we do policy analysis, what are the methods? There is gap analysis, gap analysis, sorry. I'm not, just give me a minute, yeah. Gap analysis, okay. And then there is case study, sorry. There is case study analysis, that, and then there is evidence-based science, what Cambridge does a lot for this country. So you should know that. Finish off, Waiter.
Prof, may I say something?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Who is that?
This is Madiang. Eh?
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to hope that you are saying what killed Steve Jobs is pancreatic cancer and not Bell's palsy.
No, pancreatic cancer.
Yeah. I think people should note that Bell's palsy is not a cancer.
Yeah.
Thanks, and back to you. Over to you.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes.
Okay.
Go on. Yeah.
Regardless of the method that is being used, health professionals conducting a health policy analysis often use government and medical research databases, resources from special interest organizations, and financial information regarding the costs associated with implementing new policies, for the costs associated with failing to implement a given policy.
Yeah, I think this is very important. As you do policy evaluation, policy analysis, please note that if we are not careful with the costs associated, most of these policies never take off because of like 100% transition in education. Even now, the free health service that we are dealing with, they will not go to fruition because of the cost. So that's very important for us to know. Now, you know, I am recapping. If you are with me, I am recapping. Caroline N. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Prof.
Yes, let's go.
Health policy analysis process. One commonly used process for carrying out a health policy analysis is called the Eightfold Policy Analysis Framework, or the Eightfold Path. Step one.
Pause there. This is Baddock. So you can see we're just recapping, but this is a process we have already engaged with. So just run through it for us to hear. Yes.
Step one, identify the problem. Gathering information regarding the cost of the health policy is one of the most important actions before moving to the planning phase in the health policy analysis. Step two, gather all of the relevant information or evidence pertaining to the problem, such as statistical trends or information regarding barriers to solving the problem. Step three, develop alternative solutions to the problem. Often, a policy analysis involves eliminating several potential solutions in favor of finding the best solution. Multiple solutions may even be combined into a single policy.
And this is where we are, the class. This is where we are, developing alternative solutions. And this will call upon you to do extensive reading with your partner and bring me that paper where you are saying, how does one, as a policy analyst, actually come up with the right options? Because that's the challenge. Which are the right options that you're trying to give us? And you have gone through and convinced us that even if it is cost, this is the best alternative. Yes. Go on.
Set the criteria for determining whether or not a policy is successful. This often involves establishing standards or objectives that the policy should meet.
So there must be criteria, and criteria, there must be indicators of success. Yeah, go on.
5. Predict the possible outcomes of the policy. This often involves determining how realistic the outcomes are when considering the resources and time that are available to the health professionals responsible for implementing the policy.
Yeah.
6.
So look at the possible outcomes, predict the possible outcomes given the time and resources. What do you expect to get? Yeah. Okay, go on.
Okay. 7. Make a final decision regarding the health policy.
No. We
Sorry.
are
6. Analyze the potential trade-offs or risks that are associated with the policy procedures.
So trade-offs and risks. And we have seen policy implementation, if you can call it, even the Hustler Fund, a good thing. But did we look at the potential trade-offs or risks involved? I'm sure they looked at it, that even if they don't return the money, we would have spurred the economy to a certain level. So analyze the potential trade-offs and risks, very important. Number 7.
Make a final decision regarding the health policy. If the risks are greater than the benefits, the policy may not be implemented.
Yeah. And I remember the Coach report. The risks were greater than the benefits. So the then president shelved it. It was never implemented as a whole, like the McKay report or the Kamunga report. Finally,
Number 8, collect and disseminate the results of the policy analysis process. Whether the policy is accepted or rejected, the people that make the decision will generally put together some type of report that outlines the reasoning behind their decision. This is often pitched as a story or a narrative to illustrate each aspect of the policy analysis process.
yeah. So collect and disseminate the results of the policy analysis. And I like the sentence that whether the policy is accepted or rejected, the people that make the decision will generally put together some type of report that outlines the reasoning behind their decision. And this is often pitched as a story or a narrative to illustrate each aspect of the policy analysis process. I think we don't need to memorize this, but we want to internalize the health policy analysis process. We have looked at health policy analysis methods. We have looked at the implementation process. How do we do it? And then what is policy analysis? I just used health as a sector to move away from education, but you can insert education, you can insert security, you can insert finance, you can insert agriculture, wherever your field is. And I think I would like us to look at the challenges, health policy analysis challenges And this is where Africa, you hear people saying Kenya has very good policies, but they don't fly. Francis, what's her name again? Macho, Florence?
Prof.
Yeah.
Prof.
Yes.
Helen. Yes, just a quick question. Looking at step 1 and step 2, I just need some clarification in the just concluded section that we've read. Step 1 and 2, if you can just scroll up for us to read that point 1.
Yeah, you are here.
Yes, you can see you have already told us that the first stage there in the eightfold path is to identify the problem. But I just, my eyes were just focusing on the terminology that you've used there regarding the cost. Did you identify the problem already, or what do you mean by gathering information regarding the cost? Because there could be other problems, but I think you narrowed down to cost. And how would you differentiate that with point number 2? Because you're talking about gathering information and gathering all the relevant information. Maybe you can clarify on that.
The first one, you can see I said, regarding the cost of health policy is one of the most important actions. One of, yeah? So you identify the problem and you can pick cost. And most of the time, this is around cost in a developing country. Now, why are we gathering all the other relevant information or evidence pertaining to the problem? Now I'm going beyond cost.
Okay.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's a good question, good thinking. Okay, Florence, Macho, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, let's look at policy analysis challenges. All
right, health policy analysis challenges. There are a few challenges to the health policy analysis process. The term policy itself can be difficult to define, and the processes necessary to create and implement a policy are not always clearly defined. For example, the decisions that can affect a policy can occur at multiple points rather than at a single time. And when different decisions are made, may not always too clear to researchers who are analyzing a particular policy. A bureaucratic environment can also make policy analysis difficult, particularly if the researchers are left out of the decision-making loop.
Yeah, I don't know whether people can comprehend this. You can only understand this if you are working in a setup like a Ministry of Education or a Ministry of Finance. It says that decisions can affect a policy. And we have seen those decisions, like in the ministry, on this funding for universities. We are getting different perceptions of the funding model. And decisions are being made at the presidency level, at the task force level, at the ministry level. So if you are getting in as a researcher in this bureaucratic environment, it becomes very difficult. Because what are you doing in policy analysis? What do you want to get in policy analysis? You are looking for the gap, you're looking at a case study, you're looking at the evidence. But if you have different points of issuance of decisions, it becomes very difficult. Carry on.
Yes, Prof. That is.
I agree with you. I'm in that space, so I understand.
You have to, if you're in that space, then you would really get what we are saying.
Yes, I am. Related to the previous point, policy making can occur rapidly with little time left for understanding the decision-making process.
Yeah.
There are sometimes conflicts regarding the long-term application of policies and short-term restraints in implementing it, such as having limited funding, resources, personnel, or time. A policy can look great on paper and have full support from a group of researchers, but there may not be enough resources available to implement it. Collecting information regarding a policy can be difficult and can involve collecting information from a variety of sources, such as from different organizations in different geographic regions.
Yeah. And I just want you to have a sense of the challenges in policy analysis. Have a sense. So funding, resources, personnel, time, levels of decision-making, all these things make it very complicated for a meaningful analysis of a given policy, or even an implementation of a given policy. Carry on.
All right. Health policy analysis examples. The following are examples of health policy analysis. A school sub-county wants to address concerns associated with children spreading the flu at a local school. The sub-county convenes and decides to determine the best health policy for minimizing the health risks of the flu. The council collects data regarding the number of flu cases that the school had over the last few years to predict the prevalence rate of flu cases during the upcoming school year. They determine how much money it would cost to provide the school medical staff with the necessary resources. They also consider a variety of different solutions to their problem. After weighing the costs and benefits of their options, the sub-county implements a policy that involves testing children if they arrive at school with flu-like symptoms.
Yeah. So that's just an example. And already you can sense that it's not a simple thing. If you're doing policy analysis of this, it will be quite challenging. Just sitting in a county, then going to the sub-county, then going to the school and checking on the prevalence of this flu. And by the way, this is a reality. Flu and coughing in primary schools in Kenya is a major problem, health problem for our children. Yeah.
Yeah, Prof, if I could add something, in the school where my son is, we had to insist to have a school nurse in school as a matter of policy, and the parents agreed that we need to have a nurse round the clock simply because of this flu things. And it also it came with a cost implication. So even as we are doing analysis, I am seeing it comes with a cost implication.
Good. Finally, that example.
The mayor of a town wants to reduce obesity in his town. To do so, he gathers a team to investigate obesity rates in his town, possible causes of obesity, and the health risk associated with obesity. The mayor's research team then considers multiple policies and ultimately decides that a free health program that includes seminars on healthful dieting is the most reasonable and cost-effective health policy that he can implement in mitigating the negative effects of obesity in his town.
Yeah. You see, healthful dieting. So you want to teach them to do that, and hopefully obesity will come down, because this obesity is causing the town or the sub-county trillions of shillings in treatment of various underlying diseases that come up. Eugene Situma.
Yeah, excuse me, Prof. I just wanted to find out concerning that example, is obesity the problem or is it the manifestation? Just wondering.
Yeah, what is the problem? This is a manifestation. You see them being obese, and now it becomes, there's a bigger problem. There's a health problem, heart-related diseases, yeah, hypertension, and many other ailments, respiratory ailments. Then that will affect the budget, the health budget, that will affect the well-being of that sub-county or that town. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Yes. So can we just have a summary of this, Faith Nzuki, if you are with the stable internet? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. Lesson summary. Health policy analysis is the process of analyzing the efficacy of a policy created to address a health-related problem. Specifically, it involves examining the issue that the policy is meant to address, as well as alternative solutions to the problem. Health policy brings foundational structure and actions to the healthcare problems of a population. Stakeholders are people who are invested in forming health policies. Political, environment, and professional organizations are examples of elements that are considered during health policy analysis. Determining the cost of the health policy is one thing that needs to be considered before moving to the planning phase of the health policy analysis. Once a decision is made regarding the health policy, it is common for the decision makers to draft a report or summary justifying their decision regarding the implementation of the policy.
Yeah. I don't know whether I'm working with all of you, because I need to work with all of you. You can see every time I cover a topic, I try to sit down and distill the essentials of what I expect you to learn or to have as a result of attending this course. So it is, you should begin to see the trend. And if you read this paper on health policy, you can actually transport it to any other sector, including a school. That's one. The other one I wanted us to look at very briefly before we move on is what you are doing defining the problem. This one, we shall not go through it as such, but I am nervous because from what I'm reading, I am not quite satisfied with where we are going. So again, allow me as a summary to, we might not go through the whole paper. It is a bit long, but allow me as a summary just to kind of look through, and it should give me solace that you are getting to where I want us to go in the process of policy analysis. Remember, policy analysis, and also policy measurement, which we shall come to a little later. So I would like to ask, I don't know whether Frank Activist or Chana is there. Are you there?
Excuse me, Prof.
Yes.
Okay, just a question before we move on, kindly.
Yeah.
We've actually, thank you, because I'm actually internalizing on the policy analysis aspect.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, where in the process of policy analysis, we've actually looked at the health policy analysis, where do we have the political feasibility? That is the acceptance of the public or the respondents or the beneficiaries of the policy. Where are they supposed to come in?
I think we have just mentioned that. I don't know whether some of you will remember, where I was telling you that in this summary, the political environment, and when I talk of professional organizations, like in education, would be the teacher unions, yeah, that are considered during the health policy analysis. So the political environment, I'm talking about the MCS going up.
Okay.
I'm also talking about acceptance by churches. You know, you could have a health policy that is controversial. Yes, political environment, very critical. After all, policy analysis or policy formulation is a political process. But good question.
Okay.
All right. So can we have activists? Are you there, Frank?
Yes, I'm there.
And then Helen Gechanga, Ruth Ngosi, and Jenny Amisi, please remain alert. So just a minute, somebody was calling me and doesn't know I'm in class, so I have to tell them. And I'm going back to the problem. Go ahead. Have you lost me or I've lost you people?
You are on, Prof.
Yeah, where is activist?
Yes, I'm here. Kindly, Prof, scroll the screen so that I can be able to access.
You're not seeing this. Is anybody seeing the screen?
You still have that one. Yes, but halfway.
Halfway.
It is halfway.
What do you mean
The
halfway?
screen is magnified.
Put it on full screen.
And still
Full
half
screen.
showing.
But it's the previous case, Prof. The one
It's a previous one.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sharing. Sorry about that. Has it come?
Yes, now it is well.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay, go ahead. So we are recapping. Yes, go on.
An important first step in a policy analysis is defining the problem that needs to be addressed. Let's examine the steps that are involved in the problem definition stage of health policy analysis. Defining the problem. Ruth works as a policy consultant in Nairobi, Kenya. She was recently hired by Senator Obare to advise him on health policies matters. The senator has asked Ruth to examine and evaluate the available policy options for addressing the opioid epidemic.
Just
to do
pause.
this,
Just stop there. Can somebody tell me what that is? The people in the health sector. What is the opioid epidemic?
Our health workers should come and tell us what this one is, Prof.
Prof, you are talking about issues related to drug misuse and use.
Yeah, and because of that, people use all kinds of drugs to contain pain. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Okay, go on.
To do this, Ruth must conduct a policy analysis which refers to the systematic evaluation of the technical and political implication of public policy alternatives. An important first step in any policy analysis is defining the problem that needs to be addressed. Before Ruth can begin assessing policy alternative, she first must verify, define, and detail the problem.
Pause. This is very important. And you know why we are doing this? We want public policy alternatives. But before you do that, before you give us the alternatives, assessing the policy alternatives, she must verify, define, and detail the problem. Carry on.
Problem definition is a critical first step in the policy analysis process because some issues become problems for health policy to address while others do not. Rigorous problem.
Please mute your mics, everybody, apart from me.
Rigorous problem definition helps policy analysts and decision makers identify whether a problem can be addressed with a policy solution. To do this, policy analysts need to determine the degree to which potential policy solutions can be considered effective, efficient, and politically feasible.
All right, now, please look at this. Potential policy solutions can be considered. In fact, we should put this. This is very important. Please read this again. Read that again for us.
To do this, policy analysts need to determine the degree to which potential policy solutions can be considered effective, efficient, and politically feasible.
Yes. And you know, effective and efficient, speed, but doing the right thing. And then somebody asked, it must be politically feasible. That's why you must get them into the manifestos. Okay, carry on.
Identifying stakeholders during the problem definition phase can help bring people together to craft policy solutions. Problem definition is also critical because different policy decision makers may define the same issue as a different kind of problem. For example, some lawmakers may view the opioid epidemic as primarily a public health issue, while others may view it as primarily a law enforcement issue. Ruth needs to consider the goals and priorities of Senator Obare to define the problem. Once the problem is well defined, Ruth needs to verify and detail the problem. To do this, he gathers data such as health statistics to determine the magnitude and extent of the problem.
Yeah. Are you noticing that data, documents, research reports, statistics bring out the manifestation of the problem, and you are able to determine the magnitude and extent of the problem, and then you begin to dig deep to find the underlying causes. It's very interesting. Some people will see it as a health public issue, others will see it as a law enforcement issue. Hao watu wanavuta bangi sana, peleka askari huko usiku washikwe. Ama hao watu wana shida, they are addicts, can we take them for rehabilitation? Next reader. Helen? Is Helen there?
Yes, Prof.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
Problem statements. Policy analysts use problem statements, also known as issue statements, to define a problem. A problem statement is a short paragraph that summarizes the issue to be considered. Ideally, the problem should be phrased in the form of a question. This helps guide the selection of information to include in the problem statement. Problem statements should also provide some context by identifying the conditions that have created the problem in an introductory clause or sentence. Following these guidelines, Ruth writes the following problem statement. The opioid epidemic impacts many Kenyans who get prescribed opioids for pain management because of chronic pain or following various medical procedures. What can Senator Obare do to reduce an intentional addiction to opioid drugs among individuals seeking medical attention for pain?
Yes. Go, let's have the next reader. That's good reading. Problem statement background.
Now that Tina has written her problem statement, her next step is to write.
Go back. I changed that to make it real for the class.
Okay.
So instead of Tina, we're using Ruth. Okay.
All right. So now that Ruth has written her problem statement, her next step is to write a background section for her policy analysis. The background section provides a description of the problem in detail. This section develops the facts base and identifies the existing body of evidence for the problem. A good background section should include 4 main elements. So the first one, identify who is impacted by the problem. So you ask yourself, who is most affected, how and why? Are different population groups affected differently? Then 2, place boundaries on the problem. Where does the problem exist? Are there differences in the scope of magnitude of the problem across the different regions? 3, identify how long the problem has existed. What are the historical trends? Has the problem improved or worsened over time? And lastly, identify how the problem might change over time. What do forecasts and projections predict? You first?
No. I want you to pause there. You are reading background. The background to the problem. By the way, we are actually doing our chapter 1 of your research proposal. Very important. So this is a major overlap, and I want you to take this paragraph as being very, very important, because you need this in your chapter 1 when we start developing your proposal. Go halfway with the landscape. Ruth, continue reading. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Landscape. Ruth's final step in defining the problem is writing a landscape section for her health policy analysis. The landscape section provides more context for the problem. This section tries to diagnose the problem by identifying the cause of the problem and examining how amenable the problem is to our policy solution. The landscape section should include 5 main elements. 1, identify the stakeholders. What groups, organizations, and individuals are invested in the problem and its solutions? Then what is their stake in the issue? And how much influence do they have to affect the solution? 2, describe the political landscape. Is this a controversial topic politically? Do different politicians define the problem and its causes differently? What do key constituents, political opponents, and interest groups think about the problem? Then describe the economic context. What are the economic causes and effects of the problem? Can I continue? Are certain population groups bearing a disproportionate burden of the economic costs? What is the economic impact of addressing or not addressing the problem? Then describe the social. Is that okay? Yeah. Stop. Okay.
So,
excuse me.
Before Jen Amisi comes in, somebody was saying, "Excuse me." Yes.
Yes, Prof. I said we jumped over a paragraph, which I think is important. If we can go up, the area of forecasting. Apparently, we didn't touch that one here. Over here, identify how long the problem has existed. Yes. Then what are the historical trends? Has the problem improved or worsened over time?
Yeah.
Identify how the problem might change over time.
Yeah.
What do forecasts and projections predict will happen in the future? That's the point I want to.
Yeah, very good. And this paper, we are uploading it for you. So you'll use this as your main paper of reference moving forward. Ayisi, describing the social context.
Okay. Excuse me, Prof.
Yes.
I just want to give the paper a real life experience. Even
Please
if,
do.
sir,
Please do.
I was brought up in a slum called Bondeni in Nakuru. And when we
Yes.
were growing up, there were two health workers. Later on, I
Yes.
came to realize one was just a sweeper and another one was a groundsman. And they
Yes.
used to sell psychotic drugs to the young people. We're in primary school, and more so a drug called phenobarbital and labram. I came to know about those drugs because I had a brother who was epileptic. So he used to use these drugs. And one opioid, a roach medicine, which was a painkiller.
Yes.
So you'd find that young people would go to them, to their house, and they used to sell to them these drugs so that they're high on them. So you find that sometimes some of these problems that young people have, it's us, the grown-up, that take to them. It was a big challenge. And you can imagine I was in primary school and they could identify that. Because I would wonder, why are these people, they're not epileptic and they're using epileptic drugs, but they were using them to feel high. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah, and that's first of all, it's tragic, but that's the reality. That's the reality. Even now, some of the drugs that people are opioids, actually, they are supposed to be under prescription, and people use them to get high and do all kinds of things. Was it Ayisi? I'm not seeing you. Are you there, Ayisi?
Amisi.
Amisi, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, sir.
Please go. Yeah, on describe the social context.
Okay, describe the social context. To what extent is the problem an individual problem or a societal problem? Are there any ethical or moral issues surrounding the problem? Are socially vulnerable population groups disproportionately affected by the problem? Are socially influential groups affected by the problems? Consider the legal context. Are there any legal restrictions that affect this problem? How likely is it that future litigation will occur if action is taken to address the problem? When addressing each of these elements, it is important for policy analysts to consider the role of the media in influencing the policy process. For example, the extent to which an issue is considered politically controversial, or the extent to which it is considered a societal problem, can be heavily influenced by how the issue is covered in the media.
Yeah, Othello, I think you had told us something earlier which aligns to this. So yeah, that's very important. The role of media and affect. Yeah. Move on to lesson summary.
Lesson summary.
Sorry, Machio Florence, your hand is up.
Yes, Prof. I wanted to just add that from where I work, one of the things that has been put in the pipeline, given the policies that the government put in place within the manifesto, is to continually engage the media to understand the rationale from the government of why they said, for example, they'll give diapers to mothers. And so just breaking it down for the media to understand, because once the media understand, they carry the message, or rather they're able to unpack the message to our grandmothers. They will listen to the radio. Yeah.
Yeah, correctly. Very true. Carry on, Amisi.
Lesson summary. Policy analysis refers to the systematic evaluation of the technical and political implications of public policy alternatives.
I cannot say that any better, that this is what it is all about. Evaluation of the technical and political implications of public policy alternatives. And this is your assignment for next week. That's why I want you to do a thorough job. I really want to see an in-depth paper coming from each pair of you. on policy alternatives. And you can see you are doing an evaluation of the technical and political implications of whichever issue you will adapt as your policy issue. Carry on.
Problem definition is a critical first step in the policy analysis process. Policy analysts use problem statements to define a problem. A problem statement is a short paragraph summarizing the issue to be considered. The problem statement is the first section in a policy analysis. Next is the background section, which provides a description of the problem in detail. The background section includes 4 main elements. 1, it identifies who is impacted by the problem. 2, it places boundaries on the problem. 3, it identifies how long the problem has existed. 4, it identifies how the problem might change over time. The last step in defining the problem is writing the landscape section. The landscape section provides more context for the problem, identifies the cause of the problem, and examines how amenable the problem is to a policy solution. The landscape section includes 5 main elements. 1, it defines the stakeholders. 2, it describes the political landscape. 3, it describes the economic context. 4, it describes the social context. And 5, it considers the legal context.
Yeah. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to a very well thought out section 3, where we are dealing with the policy alternatives. I have committed myself to go through each paper diligently with the work you sent. And that's why I was able to be urged at a personal level to read and do this summary notes for you. And this is what I want you to carry around you as your Bible. What does it mean to define the problem and problem statements? What is the background? What is the landscape? If you do that and you work under the 8-fold structure of your class text, then there'll be no problem in policy analysis. You'll enjoy it, because after we finish this, we are now going to do policy briefs, now going to practicals or policy briefs, and the exam would be around there. The exam will also be, by the way, because of the papers and the case studies you're doing, don't expect from me essays to write for me, because I'll have read them. Your exams will be multiple choice. Yeah. And next time, and this other paper is also summary, the policy cycle, which we did earlier. I'll still send it to you, because I want you to be well equipped with the materials for exams. So we'll be sending you this using the health policy process. Very interesting questions also coming through. Who will take ownership of this policy? Who will be receiving the policy, and so on? We'll go through that. But your exams, I'm emphasizing, your final exam will be multiple choice. So let me share this. Let me stop sharing and let me share this as we summarize, because it's already 8:30.
Excuse me, Prof, could you repeat what you were saying about the exams? My earphone just dropped, so and it's ringing very heavily now.
Yeah, it's raining very heavily everywhere, but I think what I said about exams, you should guess that you'll be having multiple choice questions for your final. I'll have already read your essays and your papers and your presentations, so I don't want to give you papers for you to cram and give me the answers, huh? Then you tell me I got an A in policy analysis. So let me show you this sheet. Look at this sheet. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing the worksheet?
Still sharing
Yeah?
the previous
No,
document.
we have not shared. We cannot see it.
Oh, sorry. How come? Are you seeing this? Nothing.
We are seeing.
Worksheet.
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. Okay. Now,
Let's see the worksheet now.
yeah, worksheet. Now, Meshach Sindani and Moline. And then Mwalimu, I saw some Mwalimu, somebody. I'm just giving you the type of questions you expect in your final exam. Yeah. So can we start with the first person I named?
Okay, worksheets, creating relevant questions in health policy analysis.
Yeah.
The health policy process is a fluid step-by-step pathway using which of the following? 1, identifying a problem, analyzing the policy and problem, developing the policy, implementing and evaluating the policy. 2, data collection for many sources and implementation of a health policy using scientific approaches to problem solving. 3, analyzing of a problem and policy to determine the best way to implement change. And 4, assessment, planning, intervention, and evaluation of nursing and health policies and procedures.
Yeah. So you know the answer. Next person.
One of the following presents an example of a health policy analysis question. Find the correct example. Question 1, Onyango, can you proofread this policy for clarity, please? Question 2, Kimani, do you know who the owner of this health policy will be? They'll be assigned to update it. Question 3, Kamau, what went well with the performance of this policy in the last 30 days? Question 4, Makori, more than 50 countries are using this policy. What is the response by the staff?
Yeah.
Health.
No, you stop there. So, one of the following presents an example of a health policy analysis question. Which one? Next reader.
Health policy processes can be very detailed, time-consuming, and number 1, easy to enact. Number 2, expensive for the stakeholders. Number 3, exciting for the team. Number 4, clearly defined.
Yeah. So you know the answer. Next.
Of the following statements, which one best describes a question one might ask in analyzing health policies? Number 1, who will benefit from the policy? Number 2, how can we implement this health policy? Number 3, how has this health policy been utilized? Number 4, are there any charges that need to be made to this health policy? Thank you.
Are there any changes? Changes. Number 4, can you read number 4 again?
Which of the following is not a part of the analysis of policy being developed for health issues?
No. The other one, what you are reading.
Number 4, are there any changes that need to be made to this health policy?
Yeah, Najua, I know where you are sitting. Some of you are saying, is this one? Is it number 2? Is it number 3? No, it can't be number 3. But number 3 looks like number 4. Okay, the last one.
That is the problem with multiple choice, Prof.
Yesterday, we have the
They are
same
really
problem.
confusing.
Those are trick questions.
They'll even be more confusing. Next, somebody read for us the last one.
I hope the answers are around.
Just go ahead. Yeah, the last one. Somebody read it, whoever is ready.
Which of the following is not a part of the analysis of policy being developed for health issues? 1. Implementing the policy needed for the containment of healthcare costs. 2. Evaluating the overall impact, financial impact.
Just a minute. Please mute all of us. Can you start again, please?
Which of the following is not a part of the analysis of policy being developed for health issues? 1. Implementing the policy needed for the containment of healthcare costs. 2. Evaluating the overall impact, financial impact, and feasibility or possible success of the health policy. 3. Determining the ownership of the health policy and the audience. 4. Collecting data and research on current and past health policies if
Yes. So this is called what? What is this called in Kiswahili? Is it kionjo or what? What is it called?
It's a mock exam, eh?
There is a mock exam, kionjo. So when next week I'm breaking the rules, there'll be a quiz on Saturday, and you'll also be submitting your paper. You'll also be submitting your joint paper. It's called Kionjo. Yeah. I think Helen has gotten it. So I'll be somebody saying it creates tension. Which tension?
Prof, how are you doing the pairing? Is Dr. Ayiro going to do all the pairing?
Yeah, she'll do the pairing. She'll do the pairing tonight. You are getting the papers are presented. So now we have finished step 1, step 2 adequately. We are now moving to step 3 of alternatives. I need a paper, and can I read some paper that will excite me, where I can see a lot of effort and thinking and analysis and critiquing has gone into the paper. I would not be offended if you overflow to the second page, maybe 1.5 pages typed. But I would like to see a good paper on this aspect of alternatives. And then you'll have a quiz. The quiz will be right from where we started on policy up to today, and it will be multiple choice questions. Good. It is now 8:34. I've overshot by 4 minutes. Please forgive me. And Ayiro is sending you these documents, and continue reading them. They'll pair you up. I also promise to have your papers ready by the time we are meeting. They might even come to you earlier through your. If you don't get the paper, you'll get the mark in your portal. Yes. All right, that brings us to the end, and wish you well.
Do they have any questions to you, Prof, before they go?
Yeah, they can ask the questions, but I want you to let us know, give us feedback. How are you feeling about the classes? Are you seeing the worthiness of the classes? And are you feeling confident that by the time you finish these classes, you'll be somebody different? Zibora.
Good evening, Prof.
To you.
Mine is just a concern. Yesterday during the quiz, I really had a lot of challenges with my network and I did not even finish the quiz. So I don't know what to do about it. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Such things, by the way, just write a formal email to the coordinator. She will talk to us, instructors. But I also want you people to let God know that you are serious about this program by looking for a laptop. Please, whatever it takes. There are laptops now, conditioned laptops, very good laptops downtown at between 20 and 30K is a lot of money, but show that commitment, because I can't imagine doing my work on my mobile. It is going to limit us. So that is my plea, and you still have many courses to go through. Yeah.
Prof.
Yes.
The mobile phone is just an alternative to the laptop because sometimes we are failed by networks, maybe power, something like that, disruptions. It was just, for some of us, it was just an alternative.
Yeah, but also